What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Nerf Microshots Wave 2, which include the Micro Rough Cut, the Micro Crossfire Bow, and the Micro Strife. If their odd proportions look familiar, I did review the Wave 1 Microshots, which are these blasters. These are the Wave 2 blasters, but it is the same concept. It's pretty much a JOLT reskin. They're all single-shot, spring-powered bottom prime blasters that resemble a larger version, like the Rough Cut, Crossfire Bow, and Strife. Flywheel Master Race, oh yeah! So Wave 2, let's get into it. These are sold separately, but each one comes with a blaster and 2 darts. These Wave 2 blasters follow the same theme as the Wave 1 blasters, but I'll still go over each one. First, the Micro Strife. Isn't it adorable? Just look at it. Oh, it's a little strife. It's a single-shot blaster. Front loading is very simple. You prime down here with the priming handle, like that, and then you press the trigger, which is right here, and you fire, and that's it. The rest of the components are completely cosmetic. They aren't functional. This little piece looks like a stock attachment point, but you cannot put on a real stock. Same goes with the tactical rail, and I guess you could use that as a front sling mount, but it's very small. I wouldn't recommend it. And it even has a little fake rev switch down here. It's not a real button, it's just molded plastic, but you can still feel it. Same with the magazine. It looks cool, but it doesn't come out. There's no magazine release or anything. This is in line with the Microshot theme. It very much resembles a Strife. It doesn't look like a standard JOLT, which is painted blue like a Strife. The shell is clearly modeled after the Strife, so even if this was all painted one color, you could tell this is a Strife just by looking at it, which I think is awesome. While the proportions look Strife-ish, it is a very small grip, just like the Wave 1 Microshots, so my larger hand doesn't really fit all that well. These strike me as collector items rather than something Nerf actually expects us to use on a Nerf field, since this is the same as a Nerf JOLT, but it's much larger. If you're like a hardcore competitive Nerfer, you could tuck a JOLT into a smaller space as the Micro Strife, and if you had that much space, you could use a Triad and triple your ammo. But if you're a huge fan of the Strife like me, this is a cool version of it, right? That is the Micro Strife. Now to the Micro Rough Cut. This is also a single shot blaster that's front loaded. It feels the exact same as the Strife in all of the other Micro Shots. If you use one, pretty much all of them feel the same, so you don't get an ammo bump or anything like that. So you just front load one and you bottom prime the exact same as the Micro Strife and then press the trigger right there. Just like the others, the shell looks very much like a Rough Cut, which I think is cool. It even has a little pump action handle down here. This doesn't move, it's just molded plastic, but it looks cool. Same with the little sling mount. It's too small to use, and this is not a real tactical rail, even though it kind of looks like one. The comfort of the Micro Rough Cut is the same as the Micro Strife, pretty much, which is interesting because they look very different, but they hold pretty much the same way. That is the Micro Rough Cut. Now to the Micro Crossfire. This is also a front load, single shot blaster, bottom prime, same style trigger. It pretty much feels the same. Fake tactical rail, fake priming handle. It's there, but it doesn't move. It's just molded plastic. Same with the stock attachment point, but this one has little wings or bow arms that pop out like that, which I think is just cool. It doesn't have a string that connects like the Crossfire Bow, which would go through this little priming handle, but the little flip out bow arms is an added feature that is not present in the other Microshot blasters. So, you know, it looks pretty cool. Kind of like a bird, not really at all. One rather serious complaint about this, to have this little handguard down here to replicate the Crossfire Bow, that severely hinders your ability to get your fingers in the handle. I mean, unless you're like under 8 months old, like a little baby, like a little one. If you're like 8 months in one day, your hands will be already too big to fit in here. So I hold it and I feel like I'm drinking a cup of tea. Playing Nerf like a sir, with my pinky up. Because it doesn't fit down there. Super awkward to hold, but it's a collector edition style blaster, especially with these silly bow arms. I really don't think Nerf intended us to use this at a Nerf battle. But that is the Micro Crossfire. It is worth noting these two blasters, the Rough Cut and the Crossfire, are a little harder to load than the Strife and all of the Wave 1 blasters. And that's because the front here is like rectangular and smaller instead of like a funnel or even like a large circle. It takes a little bit more effort to load. I wouldn't say it's a big deal for most Nerfers unless you're trying to do like a 430 dart challenge, which I did with my JOLT. Unless you're shooting continuously like that, I don't think you'd notice or care. And to restate, these are collector edition blasters, so a slightly dampened rate of fire on your single shot emergency backup probably isn't a big deal. That is the external overview of these three products. Now to the firing demo. One little note, I did have some priming issues with the Micro Strife, where the catch failed to catch. Like, it has one job, to catch, and sometimes it just didn't do its job. So take note of that in the firing demo. Lego. Starting with the Micro Strife and Louis Leak darts. Micro Crossfire. kind of like a bird, not really at all. Micro rough cut blue elite darts. Using the Microshot Wave 2 blasters went pretty much as expected, other than the issue which I already talked about with the Micro Strife. Annoyingly, this problem would present for like 20 shots or something and then just kind of cut out for like 20 or 30 shots and then come back, and then, you know, it was sporadic and annoying. My first thought was I had too much pressure on the trigger. Like if you try to hold down a trigger and prime, it won't catch, and that's just because your catch is disengaged by holding down the trigger. If that's what you were thinking, it's not that. I believe it has to do with the air restrictor, which is present with some blasters when you dry fire them. With an active air restrictor, if you pull the trigger and the plunger head is still slowly advancing because of that air restrictor, and you try to reprime again, since the plunger head isn't really all the way forward, it's not able to catch. So if you try to dry fire very quickly, like mini blasters actually, this problem will present, but it doesn't feel exactly the same, but it feels sort of like that. But even after I fire, like, it keeps happening right now. Like, it's kind of annoying. I believe I have a lemon blaster, and it's not just the Strife, and even if it was, it would be hard for me to say that because the Strife is my favorite blaster, and if they intentionally screwed up the Strife Microshot just to tick me off, I'd be a mad bore. But I believe that's a lemon, but totally worth noting because it's super annoying. The catch just, you know, it has one job to catch, and it's taking a day off, like a sporadic vacation, kind of random. Annoying. Other than that issue with the Strife, the other two blasters work just fine like any other JOLT or JOLT reskin. I put all three of these blasters up on my chronograph. The Micro Strife achieved an average velocity of 54 feet per second. The Micro Rough Cut achieved an average velocity of 48 feet per second. And the Micro Crossfire achieved an average velocity of 51 feet per second. So they're far under that 70 FPS par out of primaries, but about right in line with these emergency backups, JOLT reskins. All these JOLTs are pretty much shooting about the same. And the Wave 2 chrono velocities are very similar to the Wave 1 chrono velocities. So the performance, other than the catch issue out of the Micro Strife, is as expected. That is all of the objective information for the Microshot Wave 2 blasters. Now onto my personal or subjective opinion. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the blasters. I will not be using any of these in actual Nerf battles, so I'm approaching this mostly as a collector. I think they are pretty cool to look at, and I personally think each of these blasters look cooler than the Wave 1 blasters. They're a little bit more complex. And that I mean each one of them is a bit more unique. Like even the Rough Cut has a cooler front end that more strongly resembles the Rough Cut. The Strife has the fake little magazine in there, which I just find adorable, and the Crossfire has these cool little bow arms. Now I personally hate the Crossfire bow, like the actual full-size blaster, but this little mock version of it is kind of cool looking. This handle makes this completely unbearable for my hands or anybody like over 8 months old, like I said. But as a collector, I think it looks cool, and I think it looks more unique than the Wave 1 blasters. So I think each of these blasters is super fun if you're a collector or you just want to have things like sitting around that remind you of Nerf. They're smaller versions of their full-size counterparts, which look cool. And I really appreciate that it's not just a basic JOLT reskin, like if they just got a normal JOLT and painted it blue and, you know, just wrote Strife on the side. That feel like kind of lame. But they made each one of these shells unique and truly resemble their full-size counterparts, so it seems really cool. So the purchase recommendation would go to a collector or somebody that wants to like look and kind of plink with these blasters. If you're a competitive Nerfer looking for a competitive emergency backup, I'd recommend the JOLT, even though it doesn't look nearly as fancy. It's a lot smaller for the same capacity and doesn't have like catch issues like the Micro Strife. But if you want to carry something this big around anyways and you are competitive, the Triad is approximately the same size and has 3 darts instead of 1. So I'd argue that's a better performing blaster. But who are we kidding? You didn't click on this video to hear my opinion on these silly blasters. It's a collector item. If you like it, check it out. I purchased these online at Target, but I'll put available purchase links when I find them on Amazon and anywhere else in the description box below. I'm not aware of a Wave 3 or any future Microshots, but you know, these are so much cooler than the Wave 1. I'm curious if there was a Wave 3, how much more intricate they would become, which could be cool. Although they've already done the Strife, so they can't really make anything better than that, right? Right. That comment would be clever if it didn't have a catch issue, completely disabling it from like battle. Duh. The first flywheeler to let me down. But it's not a flywheeler, so it doesn't count. Flywheel Master Race! That concludes this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.